back, everybody, to another fantastic episode of the Every Pokemon Episode Ever podcast. I am one of your hosts this week, Wrestling Chris G, and on the other line with me is my poison veteran. It's good old Dougie Fresh. Dougie, my man, how you doing?
I ain't the one who's got a drippy nose. I wouldn't be talking shit about.
You had to be something, and it was either that or I was gonna call you my buggy partner, but I feel like I've used that before. So you're my poison veteran.
Gotta keep a list. I'm telling you.
I probably should, but we've done too many episodes. I ain't going back in all of those and writing them down. Maybe we should hire someone to do that. So how are you doing, bro?
Good. It's the second half. The energy level's a little lower than when we started, but that's just the natural way of things.
Yeah, it is. The energy's low, but we're gonna bring it high.
No, I just remember you blowing out eardrums last week, and I mean last week in terms of record schedule. I don't know when it's gonna go out, but
Yeah. That episode went out as of this episode, I would say 3 weeks ago. There you go.
so maybe people have had a chance to recover.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope I didn't surprise anyone.
Wasn't even the damn debut of the song.
No, it really wasn't. We haven't even done that episode yet. But
Oh.
that's gonna be the next one that we do. I'm not a kid. Doug's just gonna let me ride this one. He's like, I'm not gonna say shit. But all right, everybody. Today's episode is called a Venipede Stampede, or translated from Japanese, Hiun City, Fushide Panic. All right.
Yeah, give me the Stampede.
Yeah, I'm good with the Stampede. This episode premiered March 10th, 2011, a week from last week's episode, and here in the States premiered July 2nd, 2011. So, and this is 1 week away from what was supposed to be the premiere of Team Rocket versus Team Plasma Part 1 and 2 that never aired due to an earthquake and tsunami that happened out in Japan. Man, I wish that these episodes would have ended up airing or put on a DVD or on a streaming site or something. But I guess streaming wasn't that popular back in 2011, was it, Doug?
Well, it wasn't, but you would think that if the asset was there to be saved, they would have chucked it up because people are completionists.
Yeah, well, they never aired it. It's now 2022. It's 11 years later, and we still never got that episode. So I guess it's safe to say this episode will never see the light of day.
I
Sadly.
I wouldn't think so, especially because what they've done 3 or 4 different series since Black and White wrapped. So
Yeah, and surprisingly, bro, just from speaking to a couple other Pokemon fans, um, can can you believe that others did not really like the Team Rocket that were depicted in the beginning of the Black and White series?
um, I mean, you're not going to please everybody, but I mean, maybe because we're so used to seeing Team Rocket look like a bunch of dunces that maybe them being competent is a bit of a shock to the system.
Yeah, and well, it's just. Team Rocket is supposed to be these like very very dumb villains who are not supposed to be smart, and they go in and they're these bad guys now that are actually getting things done and they're doing things the proper way, and Giovanni actually likes them. Like, what?
Yeah, like I say, that's a bit of a shock to the system because, like, they were on like the Z Squad, in Kanto and the Orange Islands, and now all of a sudden they're like the ace trio that you send out. And they've got this cool new member, Pierce, that is doing his own thing.
Yeah, and at least we remembered Pierce's name in this episode, bro.
Yeah.
People don't know what I'm talking about, but there was one episode that we did. We forgot Pierce's name, and the editing in that episode was so hard, but you would have never known that we actually forgot his name when we were reviewing the episode because they didn't say his name once in that episode because we were supposed to know.
No, because we kept saying, "Oh, well, they'll say it," and then we'll just go, "Oh, it's Pierce," and we'll just move. It never happened, and so it got. I think we finished the episode, and we're like, "God damn it, what was it?" And we had to look it up, and it didn't come up right away.
We finished the episode. We finished the recording, and we went online, and we're like, we're not gonna sleep tonight until we find out his name. Took us about 15 minutes to find his name. Why was his name so hard to find, Doug?
I mean, because we were googling the right stuff. It was like, "Nah, you're not gonna find it today, are you?"
I'm gonna make you work for it. But yeah, we ended up getting his name, and it was nice. It was a fun episode. I'm sure you guys can go back and find what episode that was because he's not in too many episodes. I believe it was the
Yeah.
last episode he was in. is what we uh, is what we forgot. But all right. But other than that, Dougie, my man, are you ready to
I believe so.
jump on into this week's episode? All right, so I can go ahead and close this browser.
I told you not to look at that while we were recording.
You know what? One of these days, I'm just going to throw it on there, and it's just going to pop up in the middle of an episode. Oh, man, no, I can't do that. We'll lose all of our viewers.
I was gonna say,
Um, okay, so everybody, we start this week's episode with the Team Rocket helicopter flying over a mountain, and it has a little beam shooting down at the mountain. And we go inside and we see the rock. Oh we see yeah, we see the meteorite that Team Rocket had stolen in a previous episode, and we're finally getting some answers now. And uh James is like anything, or Jesse's like anything, and James is like no, not yet. And it looks like this guy named Pierce. Yes, everybody, Pierce. They actually have his name. Um, he's like, well, Doctor Zager. He's like, is it anything? And Doctor Zager's like, excellent. If we're able to maintain these coordinates, and then Meowth is on a computer and actually doing some real life work, and Meowth is like, coordinates holding at 1, 2, 1, 6. And James is on a computer actually looking competent as well. He's like, we've picked up something. And Pierce is like, oh my. And we see a big, gigantic, like yellow ball on the computer screen, which looks like it's centered. And the professor, he's like, yes, I found it. The what is that word?
it
Medianite?
is yeah. I had to look up on Bulbapedia.
It's he's like, I found it. The Medianite.
Yeah, Media Night is how I would categorize it.
and they're right over the mountain. So they're using the power of this of the stone that they have to kind of use a little satellite to kind of like pressure down a beam on this mountain that they're on. And it's right on top of a piece of the mountain. And on the inside, we go and look in, and there's a gold stone on the inside. And we go straight from that to the theme song, which I'm about to skip here. And we go to a Venipede Stampede title screen. And Doug, if you want to go ahead and go over the beginning scene, it's all yours, my brother.
So this is probably the new quickest to title screen. Um, so they have finally reached Castelia City. Um, they know they're heading towards the gym. Ash is like, I've got that gym in my sights. Um, Iris is like, this is a large city, isn't it? And Silent's like, there's this ice cream shop. And we should find it because apparently it's delicious. And Iris is like, we should go now. And Ash is like, fuck you, we're going after the gym battle. I can't,
Okay.
who's the trainer here for goodness sakes? You're all just hanging on. Um, and and then we're walking. We see a fountain, a big bustling city, and Iris is like, "Are you even prepared for this gym battle?" And
Of course not. He's Ash.
Ash is like, "I'm prepared to give it my best shot." Which, I mean, you might roll your eyes, but I mean, I didn't hate the line. It's cheesy as all get out, but at least it fits with his character. Um, because he could say, "Oh, I'm fixing to dominate," but he's fallen flat on his face so many times. And then we pan over, and what's his face? The bug, uh, the bug gym leader. What's his name? Burr.
Burr, yes.
Yeah, he's looking. He's doing a Captain Morgan pose under a tree. He's like, "Oh, Ash," and
You're here. No, it's just we just saw you a couple episodes ago.
it's been a few more than that. Um, but then we see Ash is like, "Well, I was heading towards the gym," and Burr's like, "Well, I really don't think that I'm in a headspace to battle because there's something going on with these bug Pokemon. They can sense something."
And Iris immediately goes, you know what? I can sense something too. Over there. And we go straight from her pointing her finger to pointing the finger at a closed ice cream shop. And Silent's like, Castelia Cone. And it's closed to boot.
Ah, shit.
And Ash is like, I think you were just hungry for some ice cream. And she's like, how dare you?
How
And,
dare you?
and Pikachu is like, Pika. And then all of a sudden Pikachu's ears peek up and looks over at a well covering. And Pikachu walks over to the well covering and it's like,
A
Pika?
manhole cover.
A manhole cover. There you go. And Pikachu points at it. It's like, Pika, 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 Pika. And Ash, Silent, Iris, and Burr, they all walk over there. And Silent's like, hey, Burr, do you know what's under there? And Burr is like, he's like, a sewer. It runs
I,
underground
I,
from the
I
outskirts of
almost
this. What?
I almost chucked my phone. I was like, no shit, a sewer. Fucking a.
Oh man. But okay, let's see. But Burr Burr goes, it's a sewer. It runs underground to the outskirts of the city to the river. and we get a nice little glimpse of how far the sewer runs out to, and it runs really far out to like what looks like a desert land. And Burr's like, come to think of it, I remember a Pokemon once wandered from the river into the city through the sewer. And Ash is like, hey, maybe there's something down there. And of course, and Burr's like, well, let's investigate. Because why the fuck not? Let's go and jump into the sewer to find out what the hell is down there. So smart.
Dirty, dank sewer. Let's just get down there. Field trip, everybody. Fuck.
For real. And no protective gear, nothing to cover their nose from any of the feces or anything that's down there. Just gonna wander down there because of course it's gonna be nice and clean down there. Besides the water that's running through it. Jesus,
And
but
they're walking, and then all of a sudden Ash goes, "What's that?" And he looks and see what appears to be a Pokemon trying either trying to get through a pipe or is stuck in a pipe. And
we
I
have
kind of call
we have
bullshit
no.
on this
Why do you call bullshit?
because he's facing. Is he facing? Which way is he facing when he pulls out? He's all you can see is the Pokemon's ass.
Yeah, but he pulls out good old Dexter, and Dexter's like Venipede, the
Bullshit.
centipede, the
Bullshit.
centipede Pokemon. Venipede explores its surroundings by sensing vibrations in its tails with feelers on its head and tails.
Bullshit.
And Ash is like, wow. So it really had. So it has really amazing antennas. So Ash is like, oh, or no, Iris is like, but what is it doing? And Simon's like, it looks like somehow it got its head stuck. Well, no, it's just wiggling there just to have fun. And
A
Ash
hot
is,
dog in there now. It's trying to get it.
and Ash is like, okay, I'll help you out. And Burr is like, no, poison point is Venipede's ability, which means that if you touch it, you could be poisoned. And Ash is like, but it's so weak, poor thing. He's like, forget it, I'm gonna help it. And he grabs onto Venipede and pulls Venipede out, and Venipede goes flying into the air. Ash goes flying onto his back, and they're like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "You, are you okay?" He's like, "You bet." And Venipede is now out, and Venipede just got helped and sends out like a supersonic screeching noise at our heroes after it got saved. You would think it would be grateful, but it's not.
I would
And
be petrified.
would you?
I was stuck in that hole, and then all of a sudden somebody's pulling on my ass. Fuck that.
But
Protecting my shit.
you just got saved. You
I
would
don't
have,
know what their I don't know what their plans are after I got out of that pipe.
but Burr's like it thinks we're its enemy, and Ash is like Venipede, stop! And Venipede's too exhausted to keep the screeching going, and Ash notices the top of Venipede is scratched. He's like, you're hurt, and it's gonna get worse. He's like, now try and take it easy. I won't hurt you. I just want to help. And Venipede looks angry again, and Silent's like, watch out, it'll attack you, Ash. And Iris is like, Ash, please stop. And Ash is like, come on, we're not going to hurt you, Venipede. And Venipede is still in its defense mode and just full blown headbutts Ash. And Ash grabs it. And Ash is like, you see, everything's okay, Venipede. He's like, all I want to do is help you. And Pikachu's like, Pika, 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 just giving some encouragement. And Venipede looks like it's relieved. And Ash is like, so we're good. And Venipede nods his head And then all of a sudden, we get a nice purple line around Ash's nose, indicating that Ash is poisoned. Doug?
He's like, somebody should help that Venipede. A wonk. He's out, and somebody's like, we should get an antidote. Well, I don't think I have one. And then we cut, and he's got antidote because it's a kids show, and we've only been at this for 6.5 minutes, for goodness sake.
I know.
And Ash wakes up and he's like, "You saved me, Silent," and we're all sitting there like, "No shit, it's your show." And Venipede is being treated with some spray on its wound, and Ash thanks Burr, and Burr's like, "Don't mention it." You're I have a very flowery line. It says, "Your actions echoed in my pure heart."
All right. It's kind of similar to the English version. He said, "You have awed my pure heart." He's like,
Jesus Christ.
incredible. And Iris then hands Venipede an aura berry and says it will help you feel a lot better if you eat it. And Venipede goes over and starts eating, or no, it sucked the juice out of the aura bear. I cannot say that word, aura belly, berry, and started feeling well right away. And Ash is like, "We're getting your strength back," and Venipede is grateful, and Burr is like, "But why would Venipede stick his head inside of the pipe in the first place?" And Silas like, "Huh? That sound." And he looks behind him, and it's a herd of Venipede in the sewer going from point A to point B. And Burr is like, "Yeah, look at all of them. Venipede live in the barren lands outside of Castelia City." He's like, "What are they? So what are all of them doing over here?" And one of the Venipede, or a couple of the Venipedes, end up noticing our heroes, and they start using the screeching noise that the first Venipede was using when it was first frightened. Doug?
And you know, um, you know, Burr's like, well, discretion is the better part of valor. We should scram. And Ash is like, what about this Venipede? And he looks at the one with the bandage on his back. That Venipede's like, son of a bitch. And um we cut to above the sewer, and the Venipede are just running rampant. I mean, they're tipping cars. They've got this one woman, and they're just carrying it away. And let me down, let me down.
They're
And
tipping cars
they're shooting that sludge.
all over the place. They've literally taken over the entire city, and Officer Jenny and her herdier um, are over here, and they're like, "Officer Jenny, what's going on here?" And she explains that she's like, "You must leave. It's too dangerous here." And she's like, "Only the Venipede, only that a Venipede's colony is swarming the city, and nobody knows why." And Silas like, "But why are they doing this?" Well, she said nobody knows. And Officer J is like, "We've got Professor Juniper working on that as we speak." And Ash is like, "Professor Juniper? Huh?"
I know her. We know her.
And we see a big explosion, and Officer Jenny's like, "Oh no, that looks like it's right over where the Pokemon Center is." And Ash is like, "Let's check it out." So they start running, and there's just a big blow up right next to the Pokemon Center. Doug?
And we see like a bunch of trainers standing outside the center, kind of protecting it, and it looks like it's all fire types. And They're like, "Come on, let's fuck some shit up." And we pan over, and there's that Trip diphead, and
Trip Diphead. Nice,
like
nice one.
the second he sees Ash and the gang, he's like, "Oh fuck." Um,
Trip wants nothing to do with Ash.
Ash is like, "That's Trip," and he throws out his God damn, it's a lantern Pokemon,
Uh,
and this
yeah, he.
Lampier,
What's up?
Lampler.
That might be the Japanese name. I believe it's called. Give me 1 second, because my stream's catching up right now. Lampet.
Bet, well, whatever the fuck.
It
Um, and they send out their Pokemon to use Flamethrower to combat the Venipede, and it, it knocks them back because bugs and fire and all that. Then the Venipede counter with their sludge, and it's like, keep up using Flamethrower, and PC activist Ash jumps in front and says, "You can't hurt these Venipede."
Trip is sitting there. He's like, why not? And, and Trip is like, I don't have time to deal with you right now, Ash. He's like, why are you attacking all of these Venipede, Trip? And he's like, because they're attacking us for no reason at all, dumbass. He's like, the only thing we can do is stop them. And Ash is like, look, right now we need to try to figure out what's really happening here. So knock it off. And
Like, Juniper's working on the shit.
for real. But Trip is so stuck in his own ways. He looks at Ash and just goes, so naive. He's like, Ash, for your information, this isn't the Kanto region boonies, see? Uh, he's like, what was that? And this man comes out of nowhere. He's like, now look, it's imperative we act quickly. And he's like, oh, and then we find out it's the mayor. He's like, otherwise the Venipede will bring our fair city down to its bare knees. And Ash is like, but, and he's like, the poison also poses a grave threat to the city as well. Citizen safety is my prime concern. He's like, the Venipede must all be removed. Doug?
And Burr's like, but if you remove these Venipede by force, they're obviously not going to go quietly. Um, you know, pardon me. They're going to fight back, and there's going to be losses on both sides. And the mayor's like, oh, so I take it you have a better idea. And um, he's like, we can temporarily move the Venipede to the center of town, and we'll figure out a way to keep them there. Um,
He, and
it,
that's when Officer Jetty comes in and he's like, Your Honor, Professor Juniper is working on exactly that as we speak. And the silence like, we just need to gather all of the Venipede into one big spot. And then Ash, Iris, and Silent go, Mayor, won't you please help us? And Pikachu is like, Pika! And then he's like, but how do we get the Venipede to go to the Central Plaza? And it's at this point he's like, Burr goes, we find their leader first. The Venipede are sure to follow their leader anywhere. Trust me. And the mayor's like, oh, I see. Alrighty then. Let's give your plan a shot. And everyone's like, yay, because it's a kid show. And the mayor's like, however, if you are not able to gather them into Central Plaza, we will be using, I'll be forced to remove them myself. Do we agree? And Burr's like, agreed. We'll search for their leader immediately. And all in the background, the Venipede are all on top of buildings. They're just everywhere, just climbing all over everything. Just nasty. Ugh, this is this is Misty's nightmare. What's happening in this city right now?
Oh yeah, she'd stroke out for sure.
All right, so Doug, your go.
So we get who's that Pokemon after Trip is like, the leader of the Venipede, huh? And thankfully, who's that Pokemon is Venipede, and we're back and we're in the lab, and one of the assistants is like, Professor Juniper, we've got data from the satellite, and we're looking, and we just see that um the area is we're trying to gather the Venipede's like migration habits, and
Professor Juniper says that normally the Venipede dig underground tunnels, but they're not traveling by underground. They're above ground right now. I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if the Japanese part had that line in there.
no, it was kind of all over the place. I mean, the gist was there, but it was kind of all over the place.
Gotcha.
Um, so we cut back to um the middle of town, and we've split up, and we're looking for the leader of the the Venipede. And I keep wanting to say Venomoth. That's what fucks me up. Um, and Burr's like, you remember when I said that bug Pokemon could sense danger and shit? Um, he's like, the one that can handle that pressure is the leader. So they're like looking around, like the one with the leader is gonna have like a red shirt on or something. It's like, oh, I'm the leader. So they're just looking,
And
and
Burr says usually the leader will be perched somewhere. He's like where they can keep an eye out on the whole colony. So they're in the middle of so they're basically in the Times Square area of the city. They're dead
yes,
in the center right now, and they're looking up and they're looking around to try to find this leader of the Vetipede. And Iris spots a Pokemon and she's like, up there, like that one, huh? And all the way on top, there's like a mega Venipede. And this Venipede looks like it's like three times the size of the regular Venipede. And Burr is like, yeah, that Venipede's bigger than all the others. No, no shit.
he's like,
He
we should challenge it for dominance, and he kind of gives the whole, come here with his finger, and he the big fella jumps down, and Burr's like, um,
he did make note that the leader will battle anyone when challenged.
so you're the leader, huh? Which we kind of assumed because he was the one to jump at the finger, and um, he's like, you know, y'all are kind of in some deep shit, aren't you? And um, he's like, you please follow me. If you cooperate, I can get you to safety. And he's like, here's your safety. And Burr, Burr is like, well, that was uncalled for. And all of a sudden, fucking Trip shows up as a flamethrower, and his little lampier shoots fire at the leader, and um, like, what are you doing? Um,
Ash turns around and he's like, Trip, knock it off. Come on.
and then he tells Trip to not jump into conclusions. Like, your whole life has been built on jumping to conclusions. Fuck yourself.
I know. And Trip sits here and he's like, Ash, if we stop their leader, we'll break the colony and get rid of them. He's like, and Iris is like, there's no barrier. And Ash is like, this isn't up to you. He's like, we agreed as long as we move to the Central Plaza, they won't be attacked. And Trip is like, it's useless. The Venipede leader has no interest in you, Ash. He's like, stop being such a dumbass. He's like, now Lampet, take that Pokemon out now. And Lampet uses Shadow Ball and throws Shadow Ball over at the Venipede. And Ash's dumbass goes and walks in front of the Shadow Ball and it hits him dead in the chest. And Ash goes flying into the air, back onto his ass, and he is out. And with no sense of remorse at all, Trip looks right over at Ash and was like, "Well, that was a waste of time. Fucking
Well,
asshole."
well, in this instance, I'm actually going to stick up for it because he didn't say, I'm going to hit you with a. He didn't tell Ash to jump in front of that.
No.
Ash just did the stupid babyface thing and was like, I must stop it with my body. Never mind the fact he's got four or five perfectly capable Pokemon that he could have. Oh, where was Pikachu? He could have knocked it with a. Whatever the fuck. He was dumb. And
Use Electro Web at the
the
Shadow Ball.
the leader of the Venipede was like, getting ready to do some shit, and the wounded one was like, "Hey, cut the shit. He just saved us." And he walks over,
The,
and
the
he's
the subtitle says that he was pleading with the leader Venipede.
and he walks over, and he's kind of like, "Hey, man, you good?" And he's like, "Ah, you're the one from before." No shit. He's the only one with shit on his head. Um,
Bandaged up and all.
he's like, "You see, Trip, Venipede are carrying Pokemon. Um, he's like, there must be a reason they're being so aggressive." And Trip is like, "I don't give a shit why they're aggressive. What matters is that we get them out of here." And man, and Burr is like, in that case, you have no right to stop them if you don't want to, reason with them. Get your coconut headed ass out of here. Um, and then we get another one of these flowery, hippy dippy speeches from Burr, and
he
um,
you want me to read his line?
if you have to,
He goes, the honesty of our pure hearts' caring purpose hasn't been fully realized as of yet. And Iris is like,
bullshit, 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 and bullshit.
Iris is like, he's right. And Ash is like, give us a chance. And Trip is over here. He's like, ah, it's like these kids are going to be the end of me. And
And
Silence starts running over with Nurse Joy and her Audino. um,
and Trip calls back his Pokemon, and he's like, you know what? Fuck y'all, do what you want. Um, and Iris is like, you are a bitch, aren't you? Because he like is basically throwing his hands up. He's like, fuck it. If you want this place to get taken over by bugs, be my guest.
yeah, he said
And
he said try your best, but I already know the ending result. Like what a dick.
Iris is like, you really are a prick, aren't you? And and Burr to Nurse Joy, Burr is like, if I use Audino's
Heel pulse.
heal pulse, I can calm down the Venipedes. And um, pardon me, goddamn, this fucking subtitles move slow. And Joy is like, well, that's a great idea. And she tells Audino to use heal pulse. And Audino warms up the attack and he lets it go over the swarm. And wouldn't you fucking know it,
It's
it
working.
fucking works. And Burr's got this flute I
Yep.
believe it was called a flute. In the Japanese, it's called a whistle,
Yeah,
but
it's a bug flute.
it's a blood flute. And basically, Burr turns into the Pied Piper of Hamelin and leads the Venipede to the center of town, which was the plan,
Yep.
and
The Central Plaza.
so the entire swarm is following him, and they're all giving him the wave, and he just through the center of town, you just see all the freaking Venipede are following, but not all of them because Ash and Pikachu duck into an alley, and there's a couple of Venipede that
Get the message.
didn't get the message, and so Pidove has to like basically gust them into the herd.
Yeah, those Venipede were about to attack Ash. They're like, what are you doing over here? Freaking Pidove had, as you said, had to use Gust, and what once it started using Gust, the Venipede are like, okay, 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 we're going, we're going, we're going. So the Venipede goes and joins the rest of the crowd in the parade. There's there's some Venipede sleeping on top of a building, and Axu is told to use Dragon Rage, and it gets this Dragon Rage in its belly, and it's getting ready to, and it's getting ready to, and it goes chip and just explodes again. Which I would be mad because at that point you're damaging buildings at this point by trying to use Dragon Ray. Freaking
I
kid.
think the Venipede on the building kind of took pity on it. They're like, "All right, we'll fucking go," and they went down. And Silent is over battling a couple of Venipede with his Pansage, and Pansage uses Bullet Seed to kind of get the Venipede that he was battling with on on pace with the rest of them. Uh, there's a couple of them that are kind of having like a head-to-head battle, and Udno has to use heal pulls again. Um,
To make
Pidove goes after a couple of them that are sitting on like an awning, and one of them is like, "Oh yeah, puh," and gets knocked back. But then all of a sudden, the evolved form of Pidove, I didn't fucking
tra-
catch.
tranquil.
Um, and we find out that that's Trip's Pokemon. Of
Of
course,
course,
his Pidove is evolved,
I was about to say, of course it is because he actually trains his Pokemon.
and he tells his Tranquil to use Air Cutter to get everybody back in the swarm,
Yes.
and listens, and it works. And Venipede are kind of like, "Motherfucker, we were just hanging out. We weren't hurting nobody. God damn it."
And Ash looks right over at Trip and is like, "All right, Trip." And Trip is kind of just doing his stance like, "Don't get used to this." And and he tells his Pidove to use Gust again to start getting some more Venipede that are just standing around watching the Venipede. And Venipede, I mean not Venipede, Pidove does this pose where it's like
He's doing
like it's flexing its muscle
and turns into Popeye,
for real. And then
and then
it evolves.
which, fair play, I guess. I mean, and I would imagine being next to your evolved form kind of got its juices flowing.
Just a little
And
bit.
so, I guess we could only talk shit on Ash's Pidove for about 5 more seconds before it caught up. Um, so then he has his Tranquil use its Gust, and its
well,
Gust.
hold on. There's a really good stat, Doug. That Dexter, because Ash takes out his Dexter when his Pokemon evolves, and it says that Tranquil, no matter how far the distance between a Tranquil and its trainer, that it will always know exactly where its trainer is. So, and that it can find them in the blink of an eye. So I just wanted to throw that stat out there because Dexter pointed it out, and I'm sure it'll come in handy in a future episode.
Didn't all Pokemon have that feature?
You would think so, but no. How often does Ash lose his Pokemon and he has to go find them?
Well, you got to have the occasional lost episode here and there.
For real.
So, um, Tranquil uses its gust, and the Venipede are like, "All right, goddamn!" And Trips Tranquil uses Aerial Ace and sweeps a couple more into the herd. And Ash is like cheesing like a motherfucker, and Trip's like, "Nope, not getting into it. Not getting into it. We're not throwing down." And um, back in the lab, Juniper is tracking all the flow of
The energy.
Ven. Yeah, and she,
She's found an answer that there's a big thing of energy where the Venipede were migrating from, and she goes trace it back to its source, and the staff is like right, and then they're looking and they're like, Professor, a second energy source, and he's like, the two energy sources are now merging. So basically, what's going on here, everybody, is Team Rocket at this very time are combining the stone of what they found with the stone that Jesse and James and Meowth had stolen because they're like, oh my gosh, the numbers are off the chart. And they're like, now what? And Professor Juniper is like, something of a major proportion is happening happening in the desert resort. And then we go over to Team Rocket, and it's at this time we're on Giovanni's jet, and his jet is just flying over a bunch of land, and Giovanni gets on a telecom, and uh, one of his grunts are like, update arrival in the Unova region, Im- imminent." And Giovanni is like, very good. He's like, the Medianite. Exclusively for the power and glory of Team Rocket. So they have found that power source. They have taken the power source. And Jesse James and Meowth and all of them, they now have the power and they're about to go and transmit this back over to Giovanni. And sad to say, everybody, but I've seen a few episodes past this. This is the last time we're touching on any of this because the wrap up was supposed to be in the next episode but it never aired. So now we are in Central Plaza, Doug, and if you want to go ahead and finish off this last minute.
so we got Officer Jenny saying that all the Venipede that had separated from the swarm have rejoined in the central area. There's a couple of herdiers guarding so that nobody makes a break for it. Um, and Ash is talking to the one that he saved from the pipe, and he's like, "Isn't it great that everybody got to the center of town safely?" And Pete's like, "Yeah, it was some shit." And the mayor's like, "Now we can rest easy." And he thanks Burr, and Burr is like, "You should be praising them instead of me." And he points at Silent, Iris, Ash, and Trip, even though he's kind of hanging out in the background. Um, and he's like, "Well, yeah, but we were just following your orders." And he's like, "You were doing the heavy lifting." And the mayor's like, "You really saved our ass." And Ash turns around and he's going, "Hey, Trip, where you going?" And Trip is like, "Well, clearly there's some shit that needs to be dealt with here, so I'm just gonna go to another city, get another badge, and then I'll circle back." And Ash is like, "Well, the next time we see each other, we should have a battle." And Trip is like, "Well, I'll see if you're worthy of my time for a battle. With
For
if we cross."
oh, just like a freaking asshole. He's like, yeah, we'll see. And Iris is sitting there and she's like, oh boy. All right, Doug. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut in. He's just Trip just annoys the mess out of me. Sorry.
Then we get the typical silent stuff about, "Oh, he's a real sour ingredient," all this, that, and the other thing. And Stylin's like, "Well, maybe that's part of his recipe." And then um, we see a helicopter approaching the top of a building, and we see Professor Juniper greeting Ash, and she's like, "I was kept up to date with everything that was going on, and you really did a great job keeping everything under control." And Burr is like, "Have you figured out the reason that the Venipede were acting so erratically?" And um, she's like, "Look at this," and she's got the her tablet, and it's showing the big source of energy in the desert, and like mysterious energy. And she's like, "Yes, we've been tracing the flow, and we see that the tremendous energy was breaking out in the resort." And
And there and
Burr's
there
like, "Ah."
he's like, wow, a mysterious power is over at the resort. And Professor Juniper's like, correct. We found the energy source. And she's like, it's enormous and it appears to be emanating from the desert resort. He's like, of course, Venipede's nest underground. So that huge energy source must have really terrified all of the Venipede. So they left the area of where they were and came all the way over here because they were terrified. And Mayor's like, agreed. He's like, but what exactly is this mysterious energy? And Professor Juniper is like, that's what we're investigating right now. And Officer J's like, Professor, I'd like to observe it too. And Burr is like, I'd like to go as well. He's like, but the Venipede over at Central Plaza concern me, so I'll stay behind and wait for you here. And they're really heavily foreshadowing this next episode that it's gonna be this big episode. And man, why could this not have been like they animated this episode?
Yeah. I mean, you said you saw like images or you saw a teaser or whatever.
Yeah, there's a trailer on YouTube. Right on YouTube, they have seen actual scenes from the episode. Because at the end of every Japanese episode, they play a couple scenes from the next episode, and that's what you can see on YouTube. So they played it. It has the Tokyo logo right up in the corner, but we haven't gotten it here. But it's at this point that Professor Juniper gets back into her helicopter and flies off. And all of the Venipede are stuck in the Central Plaza for right now, while they go and investigate this mysterious this mysterious force that we never get an answer to. And they fly off into the sunset, and it's to be continued and to be never answered again.
And basically, Burr is left in the center of town to deal with the disbursement of the Venipede after our heroes literally jet off into the horizon.
Yeah. So that's it, Doug. What did you think of this episode, and how many stars would you give it out of 5?
Oh, even with the evolution, this is probably still only a 2.5.
Okay, so
It,
about a 2.5. I would give it a 3, because they did do a lot of foreshadowing, but we we don't have any answers, and we're never gonna get these answers.
I was gonna say you can do all the foreshadowing you want, but if it doesn't pay off,
So yeah, it sucks. But okay. All right, everybody. It is I'm gonna give it about a 3 myself, and now it's time to open up a Pokemon pack. And I have a Brilliant Stars Pokemon pack right here that's ready to be opened. And let's go ahead and look at these cards. All right, let's see. Doug, I'm about to flip this over. What energy am I about to look at?
psychic.
Yeah, way to go, bro. Yeah, I actually got a psychic right here.
Oh, nice.
All right. So, my cards are a Tropius, a Silent and or a Chili and Silent and Crest card, a Cooperadra, a Claydol, a Zoroark, a Pansear, a Baltoy, a Aracuda, a Snubble. My reverse hollow is an electric. And I have, another fucking Gangor B-Max. That's my second Gangor. I'm starting to wonder how common these are, even though it says that it's a rare. But all right, I guess I can give this one away. Maybe I'll find a way to start giving away some of these Pokemon cards. But all right, but yeah, that is my pack opening. Do you have anything else to add before we end today's episode, bro?
Oh, I don't think so.
All right, then go ahead and give your goodbye, Doug.
Hi, Doug.
And this is Wrestling Chris G telling all of you thank you for listening to this week's episode, and I will see you again next week for another one. Have a good night, everybody, and be safe.